back in with more YouTube content. Hello, hello. This is Radical Improvements, my style and self-improvement channel. I'm high energy, which is what you need to succeed on YouTube. It's not about charisma, it's not about good video ideas. It's just shouting really loudly so 14-year-olds watch your channel. My channel's not really for 14-year-olds though. I hope everyone is good. Today I want to talk about how going traveling, specifically solo traveling, backpacking, cured me of my social anxiety and made me the chill social animal that I am today. The person who's now able to go and start a conversation with random strangers, able to make friends very quickly, build connections very quickly. I owe a lot of that to the decision to go backpacking, the decision to go travel a different part of the world from what I was used to. But before I get into that, I want to mention my new style and image program. If you've been following this channel, you know that my real focus is on fashion and image, specifically for helping guys gain an advantage through fashion and image in their dating game, getting more results, getting the women they want. If you're into self-improvement, but you've been struggling to get your fashion and your appearance to a level that is attracting women to you, then this may be exactly what you need. In this program, I lay out the most broadly attractive wardrobe that I can with affordable pieces, and I lay out all the outfits and combinations that I would go for. It's a bulletproof starting point for any man today. Following this, I also break down all the style and image theory that I have learned as an image consultant, and I give you an understanding of how to build an attractive image if you want to personalize it and build your own one from scratch. Also, I go over all the looks maxing and grooming recommendations that are important. You know, there are things other than fashion that are really important with regards to your image, and I go over all of those. And to round it all off, I have group coaching, which is important because if there's any questions that don't get covered in the program that you might have, or you want feedback on your appearance and fashion, you come into the group and you ask me directly for my help. So that is everything within the style and image program. I will be doing a video deep diving into how I've built it and all that stuff as well soon, but I just wanted to mention that here before we get into the rest of the video. So why did I decide to go solo traveling? Well, it was very much something I was inspired to do by an important person in my life. Growing up, I wouldn't say I was a particularly cool kid or anything like that. I wouldn't say I was particularly popular within my year groups at school. I wasn't the quickest to make friends, and most of the friends I made was over it was either convenience. They were like the other kids who didn't have a lot of friends, or they were people that I hung out with for a long time and eventually formed a connection. But when I was this lonely, sort of clueless kid, I was fortunate enough to have an older cousin who decided to mentor me a little bit. He'd pick me up and take me on day trips. He would take me out when I was able to start drinking. He would take me out and show me the life in London where he lived, and he was probably the surrogate older brother that I didn't have because I was an only child. And the thing about this guy was he was incredibly social. He still is. He works in marketing. He's a public speaker. He's really, really good at starting conversations, at talking to anyone he wants, making friends with anyone he wants. And that always, I was in awe of this when I was a teenager, and I was awkwardly trying to find my way in the world. I remember vividly walking through London. He was taking me around Leicester Square, and he would just, every now and again, he would just stop and talk to a stranger while we were waiting for the lights to turn or whatever, or waiting to cross a road. He would start conversations, and he would often say to me that he loves that he was always able to do this. And I asked him, how do you learn how to actually go through the anxiety and start talking to people, starting conversations? And he told me that when he was 18, he had all the same problems that I had, and that he decided to go traveling to America. And that was his big breakthrough in terms of learning how to be the sociable guy. He said he was a lot like me at school. He was struggling to make friends. He was struggling to meet new people. And it was this big decision that he was going to sack off the UK and go elsewhere for a year or so that finally showed him what he needed to be, how he needed to open people, how he needed to be social, how he needed to converse with people, how to build connection. And it was this decision that he made to sack off the UK and go travel on his own that finally gave him all the social momentum and social experience that he needed to become the guy that I was impressed by, that I respected, that had that social ability that I wanted. I mentioned in a previous video about the phases of life that I was literally for between 18 and 25 just entirely focused on being able to make friends, being able to build social groups and social circles. And it was 24 when I decided to finally go traveling. So you can understand just how long I was struggling with this. Like, social anxiety is a real thing. Being slow to pick up social skills is something I think is underappreciated. I think there are many people maybe who don't even pick up enough social skills in their life and go through life just struggling the entire time, having a lot of social anxiety, not being fantastic with people. And I think it's 100% something you can learn. And I was resolved to do the final scary thing that I'd always wanted to do. And when I was 24, I decided to finally go, and I did exactly what my cousin did. I went to America, I went to the US, and did a 3-month backpacking trip around the United States. Before I went out to America, my biggest fear was that I would make absolutely zero friends. Like, I envisioned myself just being like depressed and alone in a hostel for 3 months in LA, like too embarrassed to call home and say that I wanted to come back, or like too, just too generally paralyzed by fear and social anxiety to go and do anything. And obviously this didn't turn out to be the case. Like, for one thing, you can just have fun on your own. And I sort of thought about traveling like, wait, this is really weird, me going solo traveling, Like, there was a kind of weirdness and shame attached to this idea that I would go off and travel on my own, because all of my friends who went traveling, they like went with other friends. It was usually like a group of 3 or a group of 2, and I was going off on my own. So it was almost like I needed to make friends in order to have a good time. And I learned 2 things. One, it's very easy to make friends in hostels. Hostels are an incredibly open, vibrant place to meet people, and everyone wants to also be making friends. There are lots of other solo travelers, but there are also lots of groups of like 2 people who want to hang out with other people. And that's the great thing about these places, is that you are living or in accommodation with people who want to meet other people too. Hostels are fantastic for that. It's actually harder to make new friends and meet people if you're going to use hotels and Airbnbs instead. That makes it actually a lot harder. So that's why I encourage people to use hostels. Also, if you're trying to get laid a little bit, you're going to meet more girls in hostels than you are otherwise, unless you can like cold approach at whim. But I guess if you have social anxiety, maybe you can't. So listen to that advice. And then the other thing I learned is that I could have fun on my own. I could enjoy traveling, kind of just walking around on my own as well. So if there was a day that I decided I didn't want to meet people, and those days did arrive, there were times when I was like, I don't really want to meet anyone new. I'm like tired. My extroversion can only go so far. There were times when I just went off and roamed around, sightseeing, doing things on my own. That was also fun. I learned how to make friends, but I also learned to enjoy my own company. And those were 2 of the best things I learned from that first trip out there. Now, beyond that, I've been solo traveling again several times. I've solo traveled Australia, like I went to Australia on my own. That was a little bit of a different experience, because in Australia, you have like workers' rights. Usually you can get like work right visas, and you can go out and spend time on those. So I was actually living in hostel accommodation, but working out of the hostel as well. It wasn't quite solo traveling at that point, but I did go there on my own, had to build entire social groups from scratch out of these hostels, out of the people I met. This is where I started getting really good socially. This is where I started becoming the guy who was part of like party scenes, nightlife scenes. I like, oh God, I was going to say the word blossomed, or like came out like a butterfly. Like in Australia, like because I had that experience of solo traveling in America, I knew how to meet people. I knew how to land in a hostel, in shared accommodation, and just like befriend as many people as possible. I also learned how to like screen in the kind of friends that I wanted and screen out those that I didn't. So I was actually starting to become selective with the friends that I had, and selective about who I spent my time with and gave my energy to. That's an important part of learning how to build good social circles and good social groups, is like figuring out who's worth your time. Because at the beginning, you're just going to make friends with everyone, and because you want experience, you want to learn how to do it. But eventually you start being selective, you start like, dishing out your time to people who deserve it. And that was also very valuable to learn for me as a lesson. I learned so much from the solo traveling, from backpacking, and I really recommend that you guys out there consider solo traveling if anything is like connecting with you in terms of like where you were, like you struggle to make friends, you struggle to break through your fear and anxiety. This massive deep water plunge of going to another country on your own, do what I did. Pick one where you speak the same language as the people who are there. Pick an easy one. If you speak English, you have a lot of places you can go and travel where people will understand you. If you speak Spanish, the whole of South America is open to you. If you speak Chinese, a lot of Asia is open to you. There's so many places you can travel if you have certain languages, and it's easier if you speak the language in the country, I will say that. As much as you want to break through social anxiety and social fear, you do want to make it easy for yourself as well. Solo traveling is such a dive into the deep end for your anxiety and your fear. It's such a jump into the shock of cold water for your system. You will learn so many more skills socially. You will learn so many, like, you will learn how to look after yourself in abroad. You will learn how to, like, spend time with yourself as well. So there's so many benefits to this. I had a really good moment the other day when I was on Andy's live stream, Killer and a Loser, great friend of the channel. And in his own live stream, I was commenting and someone saw that I was there. And I've forgotten their name, but if you're watching this, maybe you can comment down below. And he said that because of me extolling the virtues of backpacking and solo traveling before, that he went off to Australia and traveled around, and he's making friends, and he's learning how to be social, and he's living his best life out in Australia, learning about himself. And that made me feel so fucking good to hear that that guy has gone and changed his life in the way that I did. You can stop being that socially anxious guy. You can stop being that guy who's afraid to go out and have the social life that he wants. Take drastic action, jump in the deep end of the pool. I want more of you to go solo traveling. And also you get to see the world. You get to see all these amazing sights and meet amazing new people. It's a win-win. Alright. Peace out till next time.